currently the Chief Financial Officer at Multibase India Limited, Daman, Mr. Ashish B. Bhatt.
One thing I consistently see across organizations is what I call the scripting inefficiency. Not a big error, but thousands of small ones.
From your experience, what are the most common mistakes organizations make in finance operations that quietly create risk over time?
The smooth process turned out to be a scalpel. It was not because people were careless. It was because the process did not mature with the business.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to FaceTime with Leaders, powered by Directors Institute World Council of Directors. Joining me today is Mr. Ashish B. Bhatt, a seasoned finance professional with over 2 decades of hands-on experience across manufacturing, technology, and global operations, and currently the Chief Financial Officer at Multibase India Limited, Daman. Sir, welcome to the show. It's an absolute pleasure having you with us today.
Thank you for such a warm welcome, Tanay. Yeah, it's truly appreciated that the way you have introduced me and given me an opportunity to be part of this conversation. It's privileged to be amongst such a distinguished group, and I am grateful for the openness and the energy with which this session is begun.
Sir, before we begin, I just want to tell our listeners why this conversation matters so much. When people hear CFO, they often imagine boardrooms, approvals, or spreadsheets. But your journey tells a very different story. One that starts on factory floors, moves through ERP implementations, audit rooms, compliance discussions, automation projects, and people engagement initiatives. You've grown through every layer of finance, from handling petty cash and stock reconciliations to managing statutory audits with zero negative remarks to automating MIS systems that saved hundreds of hours to now sitting at the leadership table shaping strategy and governance. And what makes your journey even more powerful is that you don't just manage finance, right? You build systems, strengthen discipline, and quietly enabled growth. And that's exactly what we want to explore today. The unseen leadership behind finance, the mindset that keeps organizations steady, and lessons that professionals across industries can learn from. So, sir,
Yeah,
please.
it's a very beautifully framed question because the moments in the past really shapes you how you are today. And in finance, I always believed that practicality matters more than the theory. So my journey truly begins with two defining moments that quietly shaped me how I think as a finance profession. The first one was in my very first job inside a factory. As you mentioned, it was a playground for me. I had moved around all the functions related to factory accounting. So maybe handling dispatches, inventories, supporting excise department, dealing in cash, and it was a full-fledged exposure for me. And then came a moment for an ERP implementation. This was the time when companies were racing towards the digitalizations, and suddenly I found myself in the core team of implementation. My responsibility was to map how the raw numbers move from the factory floors to the live system, inventory logics, text configurations, approvals path, and all that invisible controls that only gets noticed when they fail. There were days when nothing was aligned. The masters did not match, the transaction would not post, the numbers were refused to reconcile, but that discomfort taught me something fundamental. Finance is not about fixing results. At the end, it's about designing processes that produce truth consistently. It made me realize that understanding the logic behind the screen is more far important than admiring the report that comes out.
Yeah,
The
very well said.
second define, the second defining moment came in my next job, where I entered the corporate world, the corporate finance, and I faced my first statutory audit. Tight timelines, analyzed queries, working papers under scrutiny. That was when the theories made the pressure. The auditors were not just checking the boxes; they were testing the credibility.
Yeah.
That experience made me more attentive to details, but more importantly, it shaped my ethical judgment. It taught me when to pause, investigate deeper, escalate rather than overlook things that do not feel right. Together, these two moments shaped my philosophy as finance leader. They taught me that the transformation and governance must move together, and that strong systems and strong ethics are inseparable.
So you've spent more than a decade at Multibase India Limited and you've grown with the organization from senior finance analyst to now CFO. You handle MIS, audits, compliance, automation, cross-functional support and board level reporting. So let me ask you something many finance professionals struggle with. At scale, finance teams don't fail because of lack of intelligence, they fail because of weak processes. From your experience, what are the most common mistakes organizations make in finance operations that quietly create risk over time?
Sure, Tanmay. And yes, really, you said very rightly. Finance teams rarely fails because of lack of intelligence. They fail when processes don't grow to the same space as the business. And what that makes that dangerous is that these failures never loud. They are silent. One thing I consistently see across organizations is what I call the stripping inefficiency. Not a big error, but thousands of small ones, and that accumulates. It usually starts with manual dependency, Excel sheets becoming lifelines, single people owning critical knowledge, reconciliation that really are in the memory of someone and not in the structure. These things works initially, but when the value grows, when the business grows, they quietly become the blind spots. I still remember a time when at the month end, in one of my previous role went completely off rhythm. Three teams were closing and working at a different speed. Data versions were not matching, and what should have been the smooth process turned out to be a scrapple. It was not because people were careless. It was because the process did not mature with the business. Over time, I understand that there are three silent risks every finance leader or team must watch. One of them is the manually islands, places where only one person or one spreadsheet is the reason for failures, a single point of failure. Lack of single source of truth. The files of multiple versions floating around all,
Yeah, yeah.
and approval that exists on paper but not in practice because teams are just rushing. These issues don't show up in dashboard, but they show up in stress, delay, audit queries, operational pressures, and compliance gap. And trust is the biggest hidden risk in finance. A trust team makes more mistakes, cuts more corners, and loses confidence. What I have learned is that strong processes don't slow you down; they actually free you. So today, as a
Very well said.
CFO, my lens is very simple. Before I look at the numbers, I look at the system that produces them because numbers can only be clean as the process behind it. And at scale, process discipline is the difference between the control and the chaos.
Absolutely, sir, because process is at the end the only thing you can control.
Yeah.
So now you've been deeply involved in process automation and digitalization, from Power BI and Power Query to Excel-based automation that saved nearly 100 man hours in a year. Here's what I want to understand. When finance teams talk about automation, many fear that it will make roles redundant. But you've used it to make teams stronger. How did you approach automation in a way that improved accuracy, accountability, and team confidence instead of resistance?
Yeah, Tanmay. See now, I would say one thing that automation is often misunderstood. People think it's about replacing roles, but I have always seen it as a way of removing the noise so people can focus on the work they truly matter. When a change through automation is discussed, the biggest challenge is not technology. It is mostly emotional. People are worried. Will this make me redundant? Will the system expose mistakes? Will I fall behind? So I did not start with a big transformation. I started very small.
Yeah.
In one of my earlier role, I was with the inventory team, and there were reports which were prepared on on monthly basis on Excel, say as inventory aging reports or accrual for slow moving inventories, and which consumed around 3 to 4 hours monthly for one person. just doing small automation in that or picking up that with an automation process, removing the manual work over there, it was brought down to 15 minutes. The moment the team saw it, the energy shifted. It was no longer about threat, it was about relief. That became the turning point. Automation was not as a project. Automation was not brought as a project. It was introduced as a support, a way to free the team from repetitive work so that they would use their judgment instead of formatting data.
Very
Of
well
course,
said,
there were
sir.
moments, yeah, during that there were moments where macros failed. The initial the initial automation that we needed did not work out. And there was also resistance from the people who felt that technology was moving too fast. But every failure became a learning moment. And what helped us to success was a simple idea. Technology is not there to replace you, it's here to expand you. Accuracy was
Absolutely.
improving through that, and so eliminating the errors. Accountability improved because of the data transparency, and confidence improved because the team finally had time to analyze instead of firefighting.
Yeah.
So that was how I move ahead with the automation, and then the team also joined, and we had, yeah, as you said, hours of savings on annual basis.
Yeah, 100%. And technology is something that if we don't grow with it, then we just fall behind. And if everyone grows with, everyone has work.
It's not one man show. Means
Yeah.
one person will be leading with the
Yeah.
automation, and that's not working. It
Yeah.
won't work.
Absolutely. So you've been actively involved in EHS and site safety, helping maintain 10 years of incident-free operations, and you've also played a major role in employee engagement. Even during COVID, when you creatively used technology to bring 400 employees together virtually, how do you see the connection between strong finance team, safety culture, and employee engagement?
Yeah, it's very interesting. Most people don't connect finance, safety, and employee engagement. But in my journey, these three have been always deeply linked. Strong finance systems create predictability. Predictability lowers stress, and low stress improves the safety and engagement. When your month ends are smooth, reconciliations are clean, the data are reliable, there is a natural calm in the organization. And calm teams makes better operational decisions. Against the month where nothing is matching, the team is running, reports are getting delayed. It creates chaos, inaccuracy is there, and then the teams tends to take shortcuts. And shortcuts are the biggest threat to safety. In the process, if the processes are strong and several pieces of work are possible for automation, you see a safety metrics improve. And it is simply because people are no longer on the firefighting. They have clarity, time, and stability.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, COVID period. Yeah, it was a period where everybody was disconnected. There was no connection between the people, between the employees, between the colleagues, and the top management team just scattered and thought of having some connect. Actually, we had an annual connect employee engagement day, but now due to COVID, it was almost 2 years we were not connecting, and we sat upon and just thought of having something. And then an idea just came up in my mind to, okay, why can't we play Tambola, the housing game? So idea was great, but yeah, I too felt that okay, how it's going to be done, I'm not sure. But the team trusted me, and then yes, using a small automation, Excel files, Excel formula, macro, Outlook, I just created an Tambola ticket generator through which the tickets were distributed to all the employees. And this event went out to be a big bang. For a few hours, the people were connected with each other, smiling, laughing, participating in from their homes, and that was the engagement because became possible only the systems were stable.
Yeah,
So in
and that thought is,
finance,
I think, very, very important.
yeah, it's the finance is the backbone. Is if the finance backbone is shaky, you spend all the time surviving. When it's strong, you can focus on the people.
Yeah.
And that's how I believe that yes, these three have to be together. And of course, in safety, when we speak, mostly the safety topic comes for PPEs. So it's safety is not just PPEs or the checklist. It's a culture, it's a rhythm, it's a discipline. The same ingredient that defines good finance.
Yeah. So, now time for our very own rapid fire round. A few quick questions and all we request you are quick answers. So, are you ready?
Sure. Yeah.
What's one food you absolutely refuse to share?
Puranpuri.
Lovely.
I,
If
I,
you
I
could,
grow
yeah,
the. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
please, please go on.
I was just saying, if someone tries to take it from my dish, I increase my level of reflexes goes up to the Olympic level, and I will not allow them to touch it at all.
Lovely. If you could instantly master one hobby, what would it be?
Play piano, playing a piano, and people sitting around just lost in my music.
Yeah. What's your go-to mood lifting song or genre?
Any rhythmic music, anything that plays with good beats, दिल झूमने लगे बस. That's it.
Tea or coffee? How many cups before you're fully human?
Okay, I'll go for coffee. But yes, just between us, a glass of lukewarm water wakes me and wakes my brain also up
Yeah.
politely.
If you were given a year off with no responsibilities, how would you really spend it?
Road trip across India, eating everything, meeting people, basically living life like a travel blogger, but no drone shots.
Lovely. If success had nothing to do with money or titles, what would a perfect day look like for you?
Peaceful morning at home, centered in nature, flowers, trees, and maybe a river passing by. Having
One
a
hab
deep
yeah.
work, yeah, having a deep work for the full day, non-interrupted, but a day ending feeling useful and not busy.
One habit you're trying to be more consistent with lately.
Okay, becoming more helpful person, not just forwarding WhatsApp motivation messages, but in real, actually being helpful to someone.
Something you've become more patient about with age.
Everything, mostly because I have realized fighting needs energy, and energy is expensive.
A book, film, or idea that stayed with you longer than you expected.
Three idiots. It's funny, honest, but yeah, reminds that humanity and friendship matters much more than the race everyone is running.
A quality you admire in most people.
Transparency.
Lovely. Great, so that was a rapid fire round. Now back to the slightly more serious questions. So, over the years, there have been real cases in manufacturing and FMCG linked industries where inventory was deliberately overstated, slow moving, or obsolete stock was rolled forward, or manual ERP overrides were used to make month end numbers look healthier than reality, especially around audits, funding discussions, or leadership reviews. Have you personally come across the kind of inventory or ERP driven manipulation, even in subtle forms during your career? And when a finance leader sees something like this early, what's the right call? Fix quietly, escalate loudly, or draw a hard ethical line, even if it makes you unpopular?
Yes, yes, I do have that. And it happened during what I now call the darkest 2 months of my career. This was right before I joined the Multibase. I had to move back to my hometown because my father had a heart attack and I needed to be with him. So I accepted a role of manager, finance and account in an MNC, thinking it would be a stable phase. But the first month end, and it was really difficult for me. I saw ERP inventory adjustments were being posted without explanation. There were even loans taken on that inventory, and that's the reason the inventories were inflated. Scrap sales were going on, but they were entirely at night and entirely in cash. And then came the moment that honestly shook me. I discovered that there were two petty cash boxes, one for the official use and one for unofficial transactions. Senior staff had access to that black money freely. They prepared their own vouchers, signed it as CFO, and used the money as per their name. At that moment, yeah, I tried to do something right. I approached my reporting manager, the CFO, who visited the factory once a week. His response left me speechless. He clearly said, "It's not your workout, it's not your area of working. Just focus on what work has been assigned to you." That moment was that moment I realized that ethics are not written on policies. They must exist in people. The environment became very suffocating. Every morning I went to the office to a working place which was not working as per me. It was not as per my training, as per not my concerns. And luckily, I saw an opening at Multibase India Limited, and I actually but it was at a very lower level. It was an accounts payable officer role, but I grabbed it because I wanted integrity, not a title. When I resigned, my manager was furious. Firstly, he tried to retain me, giving me sudden promotion, and even when then I refused, he threatened me. He said that he'll be blocking my relieving letter, and I won't be getting job anywhere else. But yeah, anyway, I submitted my resignation. He did not take the resignation through paper, so I marked an email to HR too, in with giving the reasons why I want to move away from that organization. Well, Multibase being an ethical company had a good core value. I explained them the situation, they understood it, and they released an appointment letter to me. About a year later, that MNC went through a major audit. Several people involved in that practices ended up behind bars. I don't know if my resignation letter triggered something over there, but I am grateful that I chose the harder right over the easier wrong. And that experience shaped me forever. It taught me that
Yeah.
it taught me that fixing quietly does not work when the system is rotten. Escalation matters, but escalation without a value-based culture is ignored. And sometimes the most ethical decision is simply to walk out. As finance leader, we don't just protect numbers, we protect trust.
Very well said, sir. I think what you're saying about how you make the hardline stance, only sometimes you get the opportunity in life, and I guess that defines who you are.
Yeah.
Sir, at this point in your career, we would love to know what motivated you to join the Directors Institute, and after going through the program, what's one key insight or perspective you've gained that you feel has genuinely added value to how you now think and lead?
Yeah, for me, the motivation to join Directors Institute did not come from ambition. It came from a requirement of more clarity. The leader's journey, I realized the technical excellence is no longer enough. I needed
Yeah.
a wider lens, a board level lens. For me, the moment I stepped into the CFO role and realized that decisions were no longer just financials, they were governance decisions, ethical decisions, impact decisions, and I wanted to handle them with maturity and not just with instinct. That what pushed me towards Director Institutes. Inside the program, one moment really stayed with me. During the governance case discussion, they said something very simple but very powerful. Boards does not protect companies. Board protects purpose. And when the purpose is protected, the company is protected itself. I understood governance is not about preventing failures, it about ensuring honesty travels faster than the convenience. And honestly, that shift has made me calmer, cleaner, and a lot more intentional as a leader. Director Institute did not add a title to my profile. It added a depth to my thinking.
Thank you so much for those kind words, sir. And what really stands out from your journey is how quietly powerful your leadership has been, building strong systems, protecting integrity, embracing change, and never losing sight of the people behind the processes. From the factory floor to the CFO seat, your story is a reminder that long-term success isn't built on shortcuts, it's built on discipline, clarity, and consistency. So, thank you for sharing your experience openly today. I know our listeners, whether they're in the early stages of their career or sitting in leadership roles, will walk away with something valuable to reflect on. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Tanmay. Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Our pleasure, sir. To everyone listening, thank you so much for spending time with us. If there's one takeaway from today's episode, it's this: strong organizations don't happen by accident, they're shaped by leaders who do the right thing even when no one is watching. I'm Taneol, and this has been FaceTime with Leaders, powered by Directors Institute, World Council of Directors. We'll see you in the next episode. Until then, keep growing, lead with purpose, and of course, always have fun in your journey. Thank you so much.